The planetary scan data scrolled across Miranda Chen's neural interface, a cascade of impossible metrics that would make most species retreat in terror. Tartarus Prime wasn't just hostile, it was a living nightmare of environmental extremes. The planet's atmospheric composition changed every 2.7 standard hours, with pressure variations that could crush a conventional starship's hull like paper. Radiation levels fluctuated in patterns that defied all known physical models, creating zones of lethal energy that shifted unpredictably across the planetary surface. Beside her, Dr. Akira Nakamura, the mission's lead xenobiological strategist, ran his 10th computational model. His augmented fingers danced across holographic displays, each simulation more complex than the last. The electromagnetic interference alone, he muttered, should destroy any complex electronic system within moments of planetary entry. Miranda understood the challenge. Humanity had always been defined by its ability to look at the impossible and see an opportunity. Where the Galactic Confederation saw a death sentence, she saw the ultimate test of human innovation. The preliminary reports from the automated probe told a story of planetary chaos. Massive crystalline formations jutted from the surface, each acting like living conductors of energy. Tectonic plates moved not in gradual shifts, but in violent, unpredictable lurches that could reshape entire continents in minutes. The atmosphere itself seemed alive, a roiling mix of toxic gases that transformed with each planetary rotation. "We'll need total system integration," Miranda spoke to the holographic planning team. Her voice carried the calm of someone who had spent her entire career pushing beyond known limits. "Traditional shielding won't work. We'll need adaptive technologies that can respond faster than the planet's own mutations." The Alien Observation Team, representatives from 12 different galactic civilizations, watched with a mixture of fascination and horror. Their holographic projections flickered at the edge of the briefing room, translators working overtime to capture the nuanced reactions. A Varaxian diplomat, its tentacle-like appendages waving in agitation, broke the silence. "Your species continues to demonstrate a concerning lack of self-preservation," it commented, mandibles clicking with what passed for amusement in its species. "No reasonable civilization would consider this anything but a suicide mission." Miranda's cybernetic eye, a marvel of human engineering that could process visual information millions of times faster than a biological eye, focused on the Varaxian. A slight smile played across her lips. Reasonable had never been humanity's strong suit. The mission parameters were clear. Establish a permanent settlement on a planet that had been classified as fundamentally uninhabitable. Prove that human adaptability wasn't just a theory, but a fundamental force of nature. Demonstrate that the limits of survival were nothing more than temporary challenges waiting to be overcome. Dr. Nakamura's final simulation completed. The holographic display showed a complex network of adaptive technologies, part machine, part living system, that could potentially interface with the planet's chaotic environment. Each system was designed to learn, to adapt, to survive in ways no previous technology had ever conceived. "We're ready," Miranda said simply. The impossible awaited. The recruitment center looked nothing like a traditional military facility. Located in the floating arcologies of New Singapore, it resembled more of a living laboratory than a selection site. Candidates from every conceivable background underwent tests that pushed the boundaries of human potential. Dr. Elena Rodriguez reviewed the latest candidate profiles. Each individual represented a unique combination of skills, genetic potential, and psychological resilience. They weren't just looking for survivors, they were searching for pioneers who could redefine the concept of human adaptation. The first round of evaluations was brutal. Psychological assessments that simulated extreme environments pushed candidates to their mental limits. Holographic scenarios transformed around them. One moment navigating a zero-gravity research station during a solar flare, the next surviving in an atmosphere of pure corrosive chemicals. The tests weren't about passing or failing, but about understanding how the human mind could reshape itself when confronted with the utterly impossible. Genetic specialist Dr. Marcus Wong worked tirelessly in the adjacent lab. His team had developed a revolutionary adaptive genome modification technique. Unlike previous genetic engineering approaches, this new method created a living, responsive genetic framework. Candidates would undergo modifications that allowed their bodies to literally redesign themselves in response to environmental challenges. "We're not just preparing people," Marcus explained to Miranda during a late-night strategy session. "We're creating the first truly adaptive human beings." Each candidate will have a genetic and technological infrastructure that can respond to environmental challenges in real time. The technological integration was equally complex. Cybernetic systems were no longer simple augmentations but complete biological-technological symbiotes. Neural interfaces that could process information at quantum speeds. Skin layers that could reconfigure their molecular structure to withstand extreme radiation, pressure, and temperature variations. Specialized training camps emerged around the world. In the frozen research stations of Antarctica, candidates learned to operate in environments that pushed the limits of human endurance. Underwater research facilities in the Marianas Trench became training grounds for understanding pressure and adaptation. Each location was a proving ground for the ultimate mission. Psychological preparation was equally crucial. The team would be completely isolated, facing challenges no human had ever encountered. Group dynamics, mental resilience, and the ability to maintain psychological stability became as important as physical adaptability. Dr. Rodriguez's selection process was ruthless. Out of 10,000 initial candidates, only 12 would be chosen. Each brought something unique: a quantum physicist who could redesign computational systems on the fly, a biomechanical engineer who understood how to integrate technology with living systems, a former deep-sea explorer with an uncanny ability to read environmental changes. The final candidates gathered for their first full briefing. They weren't a traditional crew. They were a living, breathing technological ecosystem designed to survive the impossible. Miranda looked at them with a mixture of pride and anticipation. These were not just the best humanity had to offer. They were the first wave of a new kind of human evolution. Tartarus Prime isn't just a mission, Miranda told them, her cybernetic eye scanning each face. It's our opportunity to redefine what it means to be human. The impossible mission was about to begin. The descent felt like being crushed and torn apart simultaneously. Captain Elena Rodriguez gripped the quantum stabilization harness, her augmented nervous system processing information faster than any traditional human brain could comprehend. Outside the landing pod, Tartarus Prime revealed itself in all its terrifying magnificence. Electromagnetic storms raged like living entities, creating patterns of energy that would have destroyed conventional electronics in microseconds. The pod's adaptive shielding wasn't just protecting them. It was actively learning, reconfiguring its molecular structure with each passing moment. "Atmospheric composition is changing," announced Dr. Akira Nakamura from his neural interface station. His fingers danced across holographic displays that flickered and transformed in real time. Nitrogen levels dropping. Exotic particle concentrations increasing by 300% per second. The landing site was nothing like their simulations. Crystalline formations jutted from the ground like organic lightning rods, pulsing with an energy that defied conventional physics. The ground itself seemed alive, shifting, breathing, transforming with each passing moment. Miranda Chen's cybernetic eye scanned the environment, processing millions of data points per second. "Molecular composition of the surface is changing," she reported. "We're seeing metamorphic transitions that shouldn't be possible under any known physical laws." The first external probe deployed met immediate challenges. Its adaptive skin began to break down, molecules rearranging themselves in response to the planet's chaotic environment. But this was expected. Each failure was a data point, each challenge an opportunity to learn and adapt. Dr. Marcus Wong monitored the team's biological responses. Their genetically modified bodies were undergoing changes at the cellular level. Adaptive mechanisms kicked in, neural pathways rewiring, cellular structures becoming more resilient with each passing moment. "The environment is responsive," Wong muttered, more to himself than to the team. "It's not just hostile. It's actively engaging with us." The first seed pods deployed created an immediate spectacle. Genetically engineered plants with mechanical augmentations began to take root. Their molecular structures could shift and adapt, drawing energy from the planet's unpredictable radiation storms. What should have been instant destruction became a dance of survival and adaptation. Massive energy discharges created auroras that painted the sky in colors no human had ever witnessed. Tectonic plates beneath them shifted with violent unpredictability, creating landscape transformations that would have destroyed any conventional settlement in moments. "We're stabilizing," Miranda announced, her voice calm despite the chaos surrounding them. The landing pod was no longer just a vessel. It had become a living system, integrating with the planetary environment. Dr. Nakamura's latest readings were beyond exciting. The planet wasn't just a hostile environment. It was a complex, living system with energy patterns that suggested something close to intelligence. Every moment revealed new mysteries, new challenges to understand. The first human footprint on Tartarus Prime wasn't just a physical mark. It was a molecular interaction, a moment of connection between human technology and a planetary ecosystem that defied all previous understanding. As the first day concluded, the team realized they hadn't just landed on an impossible planet. They had begun a conversation with an entirely new form of existence. Miranda looked out across the transforming landscape, a smile playing on her lips. "We're not just here to survive," she thought. "We're here to understand." Tartarus Prime was no longer just a mission. It was becoming home. The discovery began with a subtle vibration. Dr. Ekaran Nakamura's quantum sensors picked up an energy signature that should have been impossible. Deep beneath the planet's constantly shifting crust, something pulsed with a rhythm that defied all known physical laws. "This isn't just geological activity," Nakamura muttered, his augmented neural interface working overtime to process the incoming data. The energy pattern was complex, almost deliberate. Miranda Chen approached the holographic display, her cybernetic eyes zooming in on the molecular level readings. The crystalline structures they had observed on the surface were merely the tip of something far more profound. Beneath the ground, a network of energy conduits stretched like a planetary nervous system, connecting and communicating in patterns that suggested more than random geological processes. Dr. Elena Rodriguez deployed the first deep scan probe. Designed to withstand the most extreme conditions, the probe began its descent through layers of molecular chaos. Each meter of descent revealed increasingly complex structures. What had initially appeared to be simple mineral formations were actually intricate energy networks, part organic, part technological, existing in a state between matter and pure information. "We're looking at something that challenges our entire understanding of planetary ecosystems," Elena reported to the team. The probe's data streams showed molecular structures that could reconfigure themselves, absorb and transmit energy in ways that made human technology look primitive by comparison. The alien observation team, monitoring remotely, went silent. Their communication channels buzzed with a mixture of scientific excitement and profound confusion. Humanity had not just survived on Tartarus Prime. They were uncovering something that could revolutionize galactic understanding of planetary life. Dr. Marcus Wong's genetic analysis revealed the most startling information. The energy network beneath the surface showed signs of what could only be described as a form of planetary memory. Patterns of energy storage and transmission that suggested a complex information system far beyond any known biological or technological model. "It's like the entire planet is a living computer," Wong explained during an emergency briefing, "but not in any way we've previously understood. These energy networks, they're adaptive, responsive, they're learning." The implications were staggering. Tartarus Prime wasn't just a hostile environment. It was a complex, living system with an intelligence that operated on a scale humans had never conceived. Miranda Chen studied the data with a mixture of scientific excitement and cautious wonder. Each new discovery rewrote the rules of planetary science. The crystalline structures they had initially observed were now revealed as sophisticated energy collectors, transforming the planet's extreme radiation and tectonic activity into a form of planetary communication. The first physical sample extraction became a moment of scientific breakthrough. As the probe collected its microscopic sample, the surrounding molecular structures seemed to respond, shifting, adapting, almost as if they were aware of being studied. We're not just exploring a planet, Nakamura realized. We're engaging in a dialogue with an entirely new form of existence. The Galactic Confederation's monitoring systems lit up with alerts. Humanity's mission had transformed from a simple colonization attempt to the most significant scientific discovery in galactic history. Elena Rodriguez looked at the data streams, her mind racing with possibilities. "This changes everything," she whispered. Tartarus Prime was no longer just a planet. It was a mystery waiting to be understood, a living puzzle that would challenge everything humanity thought it knew about life, intelligence, and existence itself. The impossible had become real, and they were just beginning to understand. The changes began subtly. Dr. Marcus Wong noticed the first significant mutations during a routine medical scan. The human body was no longer just adapting to Tartarus Prime. It was being fundamentally rewritten by the planet's complex energy networks. Neural pathways emerged that bore no resemblance to traditional human brain structures. Cellular membranes developed quantum-level communication abilities, creating a biological interface that extended far beyond conventional understanding of human physiology. Miranda Chen felt the transformation most acutely. Her cybernetic augmentations no longer felt like external technologies. They had become living extensions of her body, responsive to the planetary ecosystem in ways that defied previous technological limitations. When she closed her eyes, she could sense the planet's energy networks, a complex symphony of molecular communication that stretched across the entire planetary surface. "We're becoming something new," Dr. Elena Rodriguez documented in her research logs, "not just adapted to the environment, but intrinsically connected to it." The settlers' living quarters transformed. Structures that were once rigid technological constructs now breathed and shifted, their molecular compositions adapting in real time to the planet's constant environmental changes. Walls could become transparent or solid, absorb or reflect radiation, adjust temperature and pressure with a complexity that made traditional architecture seem primitive. Dr. Akira Nakamura's research revealed the most profound insights. The human body was developing a symbiotic relationship with Tartarus Prime's energy networks. Genetic modifications were no longer just external interventions, but a continuous dialogue between human biology and planetary ecosystem. Communication changed fundamentally. Verbal and digital communication gave way to something more nuanced, a form of molecular exchange that transmitted information through quantum entanglement. Settlers could share experiences, thoughts, and sensory inputs in ways that transcended traditional human communication. The first generation of children born on Tartarus Prime demonstrated abilities that would have been considered impossible just months earlier. Their bodies were living sensors, capable of directly interpreting the planet's complex energy patterns. They didn't just survive in the extreme environment. They were becoming an integral part of it. Psychological boundaries blurred. Individual consciousness began to merge with a broader planetary awareness. Settlers reported experiencing moments of collective understanding, sensing the planet's rhythms, predicting environmental changes with an intuition that went beyond scientific calculation. Dr. Wong's breakthrough came during a particularly intense radiation storm. The settlers' modified bodies didn't just protect themselves. They could actively transform the incoming energy, redirecting and utilizing radiation in ways that defied previous scientific understanding. "We're witnessing the birth of a new form of human existence," Miranda explained during a transmission to the Galactic Confederation. Her voice carried a mixture of scientific excitement and profound philosophical implications. The settlers' technological augmentations became living systems, Cybernetic implants were no longer separate from biological systems, but integrated at the molecular level. A simple thought could reconfigure complex technological interfaces, create energy barriers, or communicate across vast planetary distances. Environmental challenges that would have killed conventional humans became moments of evolutionary opportunity. Each extreme condition was a chance for further adaptation, for pushing the boundaries of what it meant to be human. As the first year on Tartarus Prime concluded, the research team realized they were no longer just exploring a planet. They were participating in a fundamental reimagining of human potential. Miranda looked out across the transformed landscape, a living canvas of molecular communication and adaptive potential. Humanity had not just survived the impossible. They had become something entirely new. The transformation was just beginning. The diplomatic shuttle approached Tartarus Prime with a mixture of scientific curiosity and profound skepticism. Representing 12 different galactic civilizations, the delegation carried millennia of accumulated knowledge and a deep-seated belief that the human settlement was an impossible fantasy. Ambassador Zarek Tell, a senior representative from the Crystalline Collective, studied the preliminary data streams with growing unease. The initial reports had been dismissed as human exaggeration. Now, the approaching planetary view challenged everything she understood about planetary habitability. The settlement wasn't just surviving, it was thriving. Massive biotechnological structures rose from the planet's surface, living cities that shifted and breathed with the planetary ecosystem. Energy networks danced across the landscape, creating auroras of molecular communication that defied traditional understanding of physics and biology. Incoming communication. The shuttle's AI announced. The transmission was unlike any diplomatic protocol in galactic history. It wasn't a standard communication. It was a molecular data stream that required complex quantum decryption. Dr. Elena Rodriguez appeared in the diplomatic chamber, but appeared was hardly the right word. Her form shimmered, part biological, part energy pattern, simultaneously present in multiple locations. The delegation watched in stunned silence. "Welcome to Tartarus Prime," she spoke. Though spoke didn't capture the multilayered communication that transmitted simultaneously through verbal, quantum, and molecular channels. The Varaxian diplomatic representative, a massive crystalline being that traditionally communicated through complex electromagnetic pulses, found its communication systems overwhelmed. The human settlement had developed communication technologies that made galactic standard protocols seem like primitive drum signals. Miranda Chen guided the delegation across the settlement. Each step revealed layers of technological and biological integration that challenged fundamental understanding. Agricultural systems drew energy directly from the planet's molecular networks. Structures could reshape themselves in milliseconds, adapting to environmental changes that would obliterate conventional civilizations. "Your planet classification was incorrect," Miranda explained to the stunned delegates. "Tartarus Prime isn't just habitable. It's a living, adaptive ecosystem that we're learning to communicate with." Dr. Akira Nakamura presented scientific data that left the delegation speechless. The settlement had not just survived. They had developed technologies that could potentially reshape galactic understanding of planetary ecosystems, energy transmission, and biological adaptation. The Crystalline Collective sensors detected something unprecedented. The human settlers weren't just living on the planet. They were becoming an integral part of its molecular communication network. Their bodies had developed quantum-level interfaces that allowed direct energy exchange with the planetary ecosystem. Ambassador Tell's communication crystals pulsed with a mixture of scientific excitement and profound existential challenge. Humanity had done more than settle an impossible planet. They had reimagined the very concept of planetary existence. Resources extracted from Tartarus Prime demonstrated technology centuries beyond current galactic standards. Energy production, molecular communication, adaptive biological systems. Each discovery was a paradigm shift. The diplomatic mission had arrived expecting to document a failed human experiment. Instead, they were witnessing the birth of an entirely new understanding of life, technology, and planetary interaction. "This changes everything," Ambassador Cattell transmitted across galactic communication networks. Humanity had not just survived the impossible. They had transformed it. The challenge had become an opportunity, and the galaxy would never be the same. The research centers of Earth erupted with unprecedented excitement. What had begun as a seemingly impossible mission to Tartarus Prime had transformed into a revolution of scientific understanding. Universities, research institutions, and technological think tanks scrambled to comprehend the implications of the Tartarus experiment. Dr. Elena Rodriguez became an unexpected global icon. Her lectures, transmitted through quantum communication networks, drew billions of listeners across multiple planetary systems. She wasn't just presenting scientific data. She was telling a story of human potential that challenged every previous understanding of biological and technological limitations. "We are not confined by our current understanding," she would explain, her image simultaneously present in hundreds of research centers. "We are defined by our ability to adapt, to learn, to transform." The first generation of Tartarus-born humans began to emerge as something entirely new. Their bodies were living interfaces, capable of communication and adaptation that defied traditional biological understanding. They could sense planetary energy networks, communicate through molecular exchanges, and adapt to environmental challenges with an intuition that seemed almost prescient. Scientific teams from across the galaxy arrived to study the Tartarus settlement. What they discovered challenged fundamental theories of evolution, planetary science, and technological development. The human settlers had developed a symbiotic relationship with their environment that went beyond simple adaptation. They had become a living part of the planetary ecosystem. Dr. Akira Nakamura's research revealed the most profound insights. The molecular communication networks developed by the settlers could potentially revolutionize everything from medical technology to interstellar communication. Diseases could be understood and addressed at a quantum level. Communication could transcend traditional linguistic and technological barriers. The Galactic Confederation found itself in a state of profound recalibration. Humanity was no longer seen as a young, somewhat unpredictable species. They had become the foremost experts in adaptive technologies, planetary integration, and evolutionary potential. Miranda Chen led a series of diplomatic missions that reshaped galactic understanding. Each presentation demonstrated technologies that seemed to emerge from the very boundary between science and what might once have been considered magic. Energy production, environmental adaptation, biological healing. Every field was being reimagined through the lens of the Tartarus experience. Educational systems began to transform. No longer focused on static knowledge, curriculum shifted towards adaptive learning, quantum understanding, and the potential for continuous biological and technological evolution. The next generation was being prepared for a universe of infinite possibility. The economic implications were equally profound. Tartarus Prime became a center of technological innovation that made previous galactic economic models seem obsolete. Resources, energy production, communication technologies, everything was being reimagined through the lens of adaptive potential. Dr. Marcus Wong's genetic research teams developed technologies that could potentially extend human potential across multiple planetary environments. The rigid boundaries between technology and biology began to dissolve. Humans were no longer just users of technology. They were becoming a living, adaptive technological system. Political structures struggled to comprehend the new reality. Traditional concepts of national boundaries, technological development, and species potential were being rewritten. The Tartarus experiment demonstrated that the only true limitation was the imagination itself. As the first decade concluded, humanity stood at the precipice of a new evolutionary understanding. They had transformed from a species confined to a single planet to a living, adaptive network of potential. Miranda Chen looked out across the transformed landscape of Tartarus Prime. The planet that had once been considered impossible was now a testament to human potential. "We are not just exploring the universe," she would often say. We are becoming the universe. The reimagining had only just begun. The exploration vessel Horizon Breaker hung in space, a living testament to humanity's transformed potential. Its hull was no longer a simple technological construct, but a dynamic, adaptive system that could reshape itself in response to the most extreme cosmic environments. Captain Miranda Chen stood on the bridge, her consciousness simultaneously interfaced with the ship's systems and the vast quantum communication networks that spanned multiple star systems. The mission was unlike any previous exploration in human history, a comprehensive survey of planetary systems that had once been considered completely uninhabitable. Dr. Elena Rodriguez monitored the preliminary scans of a distant planet orbiting a massive volatile star. Where previous civilizations would have seen certain destruction, the Horizon Breaker's adaptive technologies saw potential. Molecular scanning systems probed the planet's complex energy networks, searching for the kind of adaptive possibilities first discovered on Tartarus Prime. Preliminary data is fascinating, Elena reported, her communication a complex molecular transmission that carried layers of scientific insight. Energy patterns suggest a potential for biological complexity that goes beyond traditional understanding. The ship's crew represented the new frontier of human evolution. Each member was a living interface, part biological, part technological, capable of processing information and adapting to environmental challenges in ways that would have seemed impossible just decades earlier. Dr. Akira Nakamura's quantum communication systems picked up an unexpected signal. Not a traditional radio transmission, but a complex energy pattern that suggested the potential of another adaptive ecosystem. The discovery of Tartarus Prime had opened humanity's eyes to the possibility that life and intelligence could exist in forms far beyond previous imagination. The Galactic Confederation watched the mission with a mixture of anticipation and profound respect. Humanity had transformed from a species viewed as young and unpredictable to the foremost experts in adaptive technologies and planetary exploration. Each planetary system became a potential new home, a new opportunity for understanding and expansion. The rigid boundaries between exploration, colonization, and communication had dissolved. Humanity no longer sought to conquer environments. They sought to understand, to communicate, to become part of the complex cosmic ecosystem. Genetic modification technologies developed on Tartarus Prime allowed for rapid adaptation to new environments. Where previous space exploration required years of preparation, the Horizon Breaker could potentially render a new planetary system habitable within weeks. The ship's youngest crew member, Aria, born on Tartarus Prime and representing the first generation of truly adaptive humans, demonstrated capabilities that blurred the line between biological and technological potential. Her ability to directly interface with planetary energy networks suggested that human potential was far from fully understood. Communication with Earth had transformed. No longer limited by traditional transmission methods, quantum entanglement allowed for instantaneous, multi-layered information exchange that carried not just data, but entire experiential contexts. As they approached the uncharted planetary system, the crew of the Horizon Breaker represented more than a scientific mission. They were ambassadors of a new understanding of life, of potential, of the fundamental nature of existence itself. We're not just exploring, Miranda Chen transmitted across the quantum networks. We're engaging in a dialogue with the universe. The planet came into view, a swirling mass of energy and potential that would have been considered uninhabitable by previous standards. But the Horizon Breaker was no ordinary vessel, and its crew was no ordinary exploration team. They were humanity's future, adaptive, responsive, unlimited. The next chapter was about to begin.